Hey guys, you got Craig here with a guide on how you can tank as a demon hunter. Now, it's the newest class on the block, which is a bit of a fresh air in the tanking space. Now, if you've been playing the role for a while, then it's merely appearance and mechanics. Now, as with most class guides I post, this is a basic version meant for those who want to try out the class and basically the role, but are into getting more details than just being slapped with default choices and straight up rotations. And of course, as with my other guides, the previous guides I posted, you can click on the section you want to jump into or check the description box below if you are using a mobile device. So if you don't make a selection, I'll go ahead with the stat priority. Okay, so let's start with the stats you will need for Vengeance tanking. Now, generally, it's going to be agility, versatility, haste, and mastery. Um, Actually, if you can just get mastery while you are moving forward or gearing up, then that's fine. If you don't get it, then it's also fine. Now, agility mainly because it increases your attack power and it also gives you a very, very small amount of dodge, although you can pretty much neglect it. Versatility is a very good, well-rounded stat, mainly because it does something for your damage output, for your healing output, and in half its effectiveness, it also reduces the damage you take. Now, for haste, if you notice, if you've been playing classes like Demon Hunters, they rely a good bit on cooldowns to stay alive. Plus, it also has the side effect of going for haste also has the side effect of increasing gameplay speed, which is yeah, I do find Demon Hunter gameplay to be a bit slow. Vengeance, that is. Havoc is pretty good. It's pretty fast paced. But Vengeance, yeah, it's a bit slow. I could almost say it's close to being as slow as a Warriors gameplay. But anyway, and of course, Mastery, if you do decide to go for that stat, it increases your attack power, but more importantly, it also increases the physical damage mitigation from demon spikes. Now, I may have placed mastery pretty low on this list, and while the list does focus on survivability, at least from the feel of things, agility, versatility, and haste are going to be top stats to aim for while you are moving from normal, heroic, and Mythic Dungeons, which is actually just a heroic version from Warlords of Draenor. Now, as you progress further, I think because I've noticed this a little bit on Mythic, which is also again heroic, the mobs tend to hit a bit harder in terms of physical damage. So you might want to push up Mastery a bit more to better mitigate the physical damage and slightly increase your damage output. So it really will depend on the feel of things, how they go as the expansion progresses. But right now, it's agility, versatility, haste, and mastery. Okay, so let's look at the talents you need for Vengeance tanking. And for the first row, it's really just Agonizing Flame. So this will affect your Immolation Aura damage and boost your movement speed. Now, paired with the artifact talent Charred Warblades, this also, well, yeah, indirectly increases your healing. And for tier 1, that's pretty much it. Just don't expect the healing you get boost from Immolation Aura to be huge. It's not like Soul Cleave. It's just to sort of help out with the trickle healing part. Now, for the second row, while all three talents are good for that tier, if you, if you do have to have a go-to slash lazy pick, that would be Feast, due to the consistent healing it provides. Now, you still have to keep in mind that Burning is an excellent talent because it works with the mitigation effect of Fiery Brand, which spreads its effects to nearby mobs. So it also works on the artifact trait Charred Warblades, so that's something you also have to keep in mind. Now, the Burning is an excellent AoE. Is pretty excellent in AoE situations with basically those mobs that hit really, really hard, whether they're spellcasters or physical damage dealers. Yeah, the only downside to Burning is that it plays off somewhat a lengthy CD of Fiery Brand. Now, finally, the last talent pick for Tier 2 is Fallout, and it's a good pick since it allows for better fragment generation. And if you prefer AoE healing burst, then it's a pretty good pick. Now, Painbringer, an artifact trait, which I will discuss later, also increases Well, it strengthens Painbringer, mainly because of the number of fragments you can generate, but this is of course provided that RNG favors you. For the third tier, there are two talents in the row that are pretty good, but for simplicity's sake, let's just go with Fellblade. What it does is that it provides you an increase in pain generation, and it can work off your sheer attack for a free proc. So it uh, as I mentioned, it's a bit slow and a bit boring, the gameplay for Vengeance Demon Hunters, but it does so with Fellblade. It basically just adds something for you to do, and it's not some worthless ability that you're gonna hit anyway. It generates pain for you, which is pretty good. Now, for tier 4, I would go with Feed the Demon by default, since it allows for better access to demon spikes. But if you need a strong boost to your survivability cooldown, which is Metamorphosis, then Soul Rending will be a pretty good pick. Now also, if you do get fueled by pain, then Soul Rending also works great off of that. So it's also something to keep in mind. So it's either Feed the Demon or Soul Rending, but I normally run with Feed the Demon just to get better access to demon spikes. Now, for tier 5, the normal pick for the tier should be Quicken Sigils, because it gives you frequent access to your sigils. Now, if you predict mobs to be spread out at certain points in an instance, or they have a tendency to just run off and distance themselves, then Chains would be an excellent choice. Tier 6 is a choice of the type of healing you will need from a survivability perspective. So if you need burst healing, then it's Devastation. But if you want noticeable smooth healing, then you go with Bomb. So I basically suggest to have an add-on if you pick Spirit Bomb, as there might be some difficulty in tracking the frailty debuff unless you can really just see it on your screen. But normally I really love the use, I get so much use out of Fell Devastation. For the last row, when I first started Vengeance tanking, I was initially torn, but it should really just be last resort since you don't think about it, and it's pretty much a Warrior's Last Stand ability with a pain resource benefit. Now, if you can you can opt for Soul Barrier if you prefer to have more control over your tier 7 survivability and have the mitigation effect, but last resort is really that strong. Alright, so we now go into the new aspect of any class actually, which is the artifact weapon traits and abilities. Now, for the Vengeance Demon Hunter is the Eldrachi Warblades, and as with other artifact weapons, it plays a major role in your effectiveness. So it's a bit tricky if you're watching this now and you've already spent points in your weapon. You've got to judge for yourself if it's worth it to reassign points given the amount of artifact power required to reassign, especially if you've gone deep into your weapon or invested so much power into your weapon. Now, if you're several points in, it might just be worth it to just continue down the path you initially thought was good. Now, personally, I reassigned my points after having around 13 or 14. I know it's a bit late, but yeah. I found out that based on a calculator I found somewhere on the web that I would have acquired 2 golden traits by reassigning points. So anyway, I do play a relaxed pace. I'm not gunning for major achievements, so it was fine for me. Now, before going into the traits, I just want to say something about relics, and that they don't really matter what choices, or if you had to choose between 2 different type of relics, in terms of the abilities they provide or the abilities they buff, it really won't matter. You just make sure you always upgrade your relics to the highest item level, as it increases the base stats of your artifact weapon, and this goes for any artifact weapon. So it would be great, of course, if you could get your relic to line up with the artifact skill or ability that you want, but the item level is more important. So what I will be showing you now is how I plan to continue my artifact power as the expansion rolls on. So you might have something else better in mind, just leave them down in the comment section below. Plus, if Blizzard decides to tweak traits in a very major way, then it might be better to go a different route. Unless a refund is offered, then I don't know, I'll probably stick with whatever I have right now. Or diverge, just go ahead and just split away and diverge from the spending path I had intended. So when the expansion launched, the first trait I initially aimed for was Charred Warblades, but after the recalculation I mentioned earlier, I went the fueled by pain route and still got charred warblades pretty quickly. Now, the heal boost, especially when paired with soul rending, is pretty awesome. So, by going this path, it's really easy to get charred warblades. So, which is the second golden trait. Now, as I do this video, I do have both golden traits right now. Which is pretty awesome. I get those. It says on Wowhead that you only get 1 proc per minute for fueled by pain. It's strange, but I'm getting around 2 per minute, so it's not so bad. Now I also have charred wireblade, so I do have that trickle healing, which is pretty good, and it helps out the healer. Yeah. Anyway, so for the traits, let's pause for a moment and let me list the current traits involved in the whole process. So you can just also pause this video if you really want to read through what I've listed here. Okay, so after getting charred warblades, I am now at the point where I'm still not decided on where I should continue my artifact traits. Whether I go directly for Painbringer or stuff like that. I really had to decide, but I'd really like to go for Painbringer's mitigation effect when I have enough points. So basically, if I do go that route, I also am considering to take my time and pick up Will of the Illidari for the health increase before Painbringer. So my reasoning for this is that the strength for going for Devour Souls and Will of the Illidari is that I get a steady increase in my max health as well as a more effective soul cleave. So Painbringer, while it's pretty awesome because it is mitigation effect, it will really depend on the number of fragments you can generate. Now, it's pretty RNG related. I know you have Soul Carver, but it's on a long cooldown. So I don't, from experience, I've tanked some mythics. I don't see a whole lot of souls being generated, which makes me a bit cautious about straight away going for Painbringer. But anyway, here's what the pathing, I think that's what most forums would call the term, pathing might look like after getting fueled by pain and charred warblades. So this is the pathing I might go for. Again, shatter the souls, and as either I go directly for Painbringer or split for a while, split off for a while and gun for Will of the Illidari and then Painbringer. I'm still undecided, but here's the pathing anyway. Okay, in my previous guides, I talked about every single ability a particular class has. Now, I'll only go over the important ones for tanking, which means I won't be talking about things like glide and stuff. It's not like there's a whole lot of abilities for demon hunters, but anyway, so here are some of your abilities. So Soul Carver is your artifact ability, and it's good for a skill. Well, personally, I find most artifact weapon abilities to be a bit underwhelming, especially for Prot Warrior. Anyway, but it is what it is. Artifact abilities. I haven't seen other classes. I've only seen for my Assassination Rogue, my Prot Warrior, but anyway. Now, Soul Cleave is the second ability. Soul Cleave is your AoE damage ability, and it's also a healing ability. So make sure you position yourself correctly in AoE scenarios so you can basically damage as many mobs as possible. Now, another AoE ability you have is Immolation Aura, which is one of the really nice abilities for Demon Hunters. It generates pain, and it deals damage over time effect to nearby enemies. Now, Demon Hunters are the kings of mobility in the tanking space, although I've read on forums that Brewmasters might be better at it, but it doesn't matter. Basically all I'm saying is that Demon Hunters are pretty good. Now, Infernal Strike is one of the reasons why mobility is a great thing for Demon Hunters. Now, it works on a charge system, which means you can strike twice in a row or leave one charge if you want to save your ability. Let's say you want to get out of a deadly AoE effect. And Shear is pretty much for fragment generation. You'd want to mash the keybind for this when you're not doing anything else. And you also have Flame Sigil, which is really just an AoE damage effect, but what makes it great is that you can target a specific location. Now, for the abilities that help you stay up, you're seeing them on your screen right now. Now, Demon Spikes works like most charge systems, so it increases your ability to handle physical damage, and is something you should keep up most of the time. Now, Empower Wards is straight up magic damage reduction, while Fiery Brand is a target specific ability unless you use the talent for it. Now, Brand deals fire damage and gives you damage reduction from any type from that specific target. And lastly, Metamorphosis is, well, it's your warrior's last stand ability with the additional benefit of pain generation. Now, I won't talk about them, but here are abilities that you will also find useful in encounters, now especially with mobs leading up to a boss. So let's check how you actually make use of your abilities. Now, in fights generally, there should be no rotation. It's funny when people ask for rotation. When you're tanking, there's really no rotation. You've got to use what you need to use at that very moment. Now, it will depend on the fight and its mechanics, but for single target scenarios, you will want to generally, quote unquote, generally open in this manner. Now, you use Sigil of Flame, you use Infernal Strike, you use Soul Carver, you use Immolation Aura, and then you cast Demon Spikes. Of course, if it's a boss that never hits you physically, or hits you with physical damage, you don't use Demon Spikes right away. Yeah, generally from there it will change depending on the need, but most abilities should be used on cooldown except if the situation calls for you to save them. Now, once you're inside a fight or the fight proper after your opener, then basically you should use Soul Carver on CD, or unless you want to save your fragments to, or want to have them available at a specific time in the fight, you should use Infernal Strike on cooldown unless you need to save a charge to get out of bad stuff. Immolation Aura should also be used on cooldown, or you might want to wait a bit if you expect ads to be there. That goes it goes the same way with the Sigil of Flames, unless yeah, just use it on cooldown, even on single target fights. Demon Spikes, I've seen some. I go on my Havoc spec, and I've noticed that other Vengeance Demon Hunters sometimes don't use Demon Spikes. So it's something that they seem to forget. So they should really use this ability. It's really needed by Demon Hunters. Now, Fell Devastation should also be used on cooldown, only if the damage intake is manageable. If it's not, then of course you should save it for burst healing. You should also use Fellblade on CD, and I really recommend this talent. And of course, if you're not doing anything else, just mash the keybind for shear. And for AoE scenarios, it's best to be flexible and prioritize as needed. So basically, you'll want to get the most out of your AoE abilities, basically using them on cooldown. So it's Immolation Aura, that's Sigil of Flame, Soul Cleave when you are about to cap pain, and Fell Devastation. Again, just be flexible, but basically using these abilities on cooldown is recommended. For your AoE scenario, you'll still have to weave in Shear and Soul Carver and use them all the time, or any other abilities that you have to use. If you have talents that modify abilities like Flame Crash and Burning Alive, then you'll have to make the best use by inserting them as necessary. So in the case of those two abilities I mentioned, so make sure to keep the uptime of Sigil of Flame as high as possible. So if you have Flame Crash, make sure they don't overlap. And for the Burning Alive talent, while it does add a dot and spread element to your Fiery Brand ability, make sure you don't need Fiery Brand at a specific point in the fight, especially if you want to get a defensive up. So if you just want to handle multiple mobs and you're not worried about one big boss, all of a sudden one-shotting you, then yeah, just go ahead and use that. Yeah, just remember for either single target or AoE scenarios, be flexible. Save your abilities when you need them the most. If there's no danger of dying or being one-shotted, then help out the overall group damage output. For macros and add-ons, the macros part first, I think I can only suggest a Hovercast macro for your Consume Magic ability. Now, there are so many mobs especially as you move up. There are so many mobs that require interrupting. Actually, you can see that while questing. So, and this hovercast macro can really help. So you're seeing it on your screen right now. And you know what? For convenience, you can try this in the open world while mounted. It's not for tanking, but I thought I'd show it again here as I showed it in a previous video I did. It's really fun. It allows you to quickly dismount and glide. For add-ons, I just use what you're seeing on your screen right now. It's basically the same list of add-ons I do recommend in my videos, WoW videos. First one is ELV That's the general UI you're seeing, or most of the stuff you're seeing on the screen in my videos. SCADA for the meters, for threat or damage, and then tell me when, just to watch certain abilities that I want to monitor closely. And Addy bags. I just switched from Bagnon recently, so I found this one and it's really, really good. It keeps stuff organized in your bags, but it's not necessary for tanking. And that's it for this guide on how you can tank as a Vengeance Demon Hunter. And it is a bit longer than my other guides. I'm looking at the timeline for the editor right now, and it's around 20 something minutes. Yeah, I think it's because of the artifact weapon stuff, but yeah, since it's been that long, I think I'll end it here. So I hope you found this useful, guys. I hope it encourages you to try out Vengeance Demon Hunter tanking, and don't let people discourage you from trying the role and the class out. I mean, there will always be that kind of people in the game. Just ignore them and do your best to be a better tank or be a good tank. Anyway, it's been Crave. Thanks for watching.